46 districts, 9 states, 448 kilometers, 108 days since it started. Has Rahul Gandhi been able to shed that Pappu tag, or is it so firmly embossed on him that it's impossible to shake away? Joining us to talk about this big leg of the Yatra, remember it goes on for 3,570 kilometers, 448 kilometers left at this moment. We're joined on this broadcast by Rashid Kidwai, author, political analyst, tracks the Congress and the Gandhi family very closely. Sudhindra Kulkarni joins us, political activist, columnist, has tracked governments closely. Harish Bijur is a brand strategy expert. Rajiv Desai joins us. He is the CEO of Kama Consulting, another brand expert, also has been active with political campaign management. So GVL Narasimha Rao joins us, national spokesperson of the BJP, member of Parliament in the Rajya Sabha. Anika Mehrotra joins us from the Congress. So let me go across to Rajiv Desai first for his sense of whether or not Rahul Gandhi, 108 days since this yatra began, has been able to shed the Pappu tag. Now here is someone who's had many false starts. At many an occasion it seemed, okay, he was finally coming into his own, there was a reinvention happening. On each of those occasions in the past, for some reason or the other, Harish Bijur, it turned out to be a false start. Given what we've seen so far from the Bharat Jodo Yatra, Harish Bijur, has Rahul Gandhi been able to shed that infamous Pappu tag?
Firstly, my definition of a brand is a simple one. The brand is a thought that lives in a person's mind. So to that extent, Rahul Gandhi is a thought that lives in the electorate's mind. Now, has Rahul Gandhi been successful in erasing the Pappu tag due to this entire yatra? I do believe only time will tell. But at this point of time, there are two Indias. One is real India. And the feeling was that Rahul Gandhi did not know real India. Rahul Gandhi was divorced from real India. Rahul Gandhi belonged to entitled India. Now that image has certainly changed. Because if Rahul Gandhi can claim that he's actually walked the talk, he's actually walked this many kilometers, he's actually grown that salt and pepper beard over a tumultuous walk, he's actually held hands with people, he's actually become tactile with real India, then I think that could help him and help him shore up his image. So to that extent, yes. But the point is, between virtual India and real India, I mean, the reality is so large that embracing that reality, one yatra will not do the task.
Okay, you're saying there's too much ground to cover. One yatra doesn't undo all the damage done to his brand in the past. Rajiv Desai, your initial thoughts on whether there's a new Rahul Gandhi who's emerging? But that's been said in the past, so critics will say, you know, this could just be another false start, or is it?
No, this is actually a very clever way of getting past all the obstacles and hurdles placed in his way by the government of the day, and we know that. I mean, how often have you ever seen Rahul Gandhi press conference or speech or anything on television? You haven't. Very, very occasionally. So I think it's a way to, media means something that mediates your message from you to a given audience. So he has now directly approached the people of India, so to speak. And as you can see from the thousands and hundreds of thousands who gathered to see him, and that's all that's needed. They see him. They'd only heard a name, and they'd only heard a name that had and a label that had been hung on him by these BJP people calling him Pappu, which is kind of disgusting if you think about it. But really, so now people have actually seen him and they say, really, these guys had made him out to be some sort of a weird creature, and he's just an ordinary, normal man.
GVL Narasimha Rao, the likes of Rajiv Desai saying, real India is connecting with the real Rahul Gandhi. You had distorted the message through all your WhatsApp groups, through Facebook, through Twitter, through Instagram, made him out to be a Pappu. Now people see him for what he is, and they think that with this yatra, Rahul Gandhi has been able to shed that Pappu tag finally.
Rahul, good evening to you and all the panelists. We have never, none of us have ever used such derogatory terms for Rahul Gandhi or for any other leader. And therefore, and we do not support, in fact, there were a couple of meetings in which I heard my senior leaders to scold people who have used such words in party meetings. And this has never been published outside. I'm only sharing it for your information. Rahul Gandhi always had he was always a brand because he comes from a family, that family brand and that Gandhi tag. Certainly it gave him a very big head start when he launched himself on the political horizon. But today, all that he has demonstrated in the last couple of months, his tenacity to persist or to walk, because he was not a very serious politician even during this time. When you critically analyze, when the elections were happening in Gujarat, Delhi, Himachal, he was absent from there. In Telangana, where he entered, there was a by-election, a very prestigious battle that was happening in Nalgonda district, and he was doing Padayatra 200 kilometers a day, and all the leaders have had to run away to be with him. So, is that sagacity? Do you call it political sagacity? I certainly don't think he has acquired that quality at least. And he has always known the reality. It's not that he has ventured into
Sudhindra Kulkarni,
into the
GVL Narasimha Rao says all we know now is that he can be a marathon man, he can be an Iron Man, he can enter a physical fitness competition, he can do push-ups, the guy looks fit, he can walk around Delhi ki sardi in a t-shirt. It doesn't mean anything about Rahul Gandhi's political skills. In many places where the yatra is passed from, the Congress has been cleaned out in those areas. Telangana, for example, after the yatra left, many MLAs left.
You know, I don't agree with this assessment, which of course is quite predictable coming from BJP spokesperson. But there are lots of people who are looking at the Bharat Jodo Yatra as an exercise in image makeover, rebranding, relaunching Rahul Gandhi, etc. These are terms from the business world where PR people are engaged, hired, but these terms are totally inappropriate and useless, irrelevant in understanding what Rahul Gandhi is attempting to do. You may or may not agree with everything about the Congress or everything that Rahul Gandhi says, but the very fact that he has undertaken the most difficult, most grueling, most self-challenging exercise, very few parallels in post-independent India's history. A person who is walking 3,200 kilometers, 25 kilometers a day, day after day, and with a message. And that message is relevant, that message is appropriate for today's India. An India when there is so much intolerance, so much nafrat, hatred. And we have seen the most recent example of hate speech coming from none other than the MP of a ruling party, Pragya Thakur, who says, carry a chaku with you in every home. Now this is from an MP from a ruling party. And there is no admonition, there is no punishment for such speech. And that's why what Rahul Gandhi is saying through Bharat Jodo Yatra, Nafrat Chodo Bharat Jodo, has great significance, and let me tell you, it is also having a resonance with the people of India.
But how do we determine that? Now that's the point, Anika Mehrotra. The likes of Sudhindra Kulkarni saying it's having a great resonance, but in a democracy, you test the claim of resonance in an electoral battlefield. And in the electoral battlefield of Gujarat, the Congress crashed. In Himachal, it won. In the MCD, it lost. Unless you put Rahul Gandhi's new image to test in an election, this claim that Sudhindra Kulkarni and others who like Rahul Gandhi's yatra can never really be put to test. How do we know whether it's resonating or not? It may resonate with the likes of Sudhindra Kulkarni, but how do we know it's resonating with the people of India?
See, Rahulji, at the very onset, it was very, very clearly said that today when country is reeling under the huge pressure of unemployment, inflation, hate speeches, you name it, and we are boggling down under this pressure, it was a time when we had to go out in the street and connect with the people. That was the need of the hour, and that's precisely what the Yatra is doing. Yes, you are right. There has to be a connect between electoral victory to this Yatra, right? But we've always said its repercussion, its impact, the ripple effect, you'll be seeing it sustainably accordingly, because it has just come up. And people are coming out of the fact to believe, yes, this is the need of the hour. Earlier, they were camouflaged, they were, kind of impression was given that this is the new India and this is where you're going to get all the best things and, Naya Bharat and all that. But that didn't happen. People realized that it was just an eyewash and the ground realities were far away from it. And hence this Yatra is going to have an effect soon when you see in the elections. You see, everything you can't have, क्या कहते हैं, हथेली में सरसों नहीं उगा सकते आप ना सर. तो यात्रा का पर्पस भी ये नहीं है. The point here is to connect the people and loud and clear to the ruling government that look, you're on the wrong path. You cannot run the country, but by suppressing or by dictating terms. You need to connect and realize.
Let me go across to Rashid Kidwai on the issue of that T-shirt, which is generated so much social media chatter. You got a jacket on, I see. I'm wearing a thermal. I have a shirt and a jacket on top. I was wearing a sweater in the day. In the early morning of Delhi, he's out. Everybody else around him is wearing jackets. He somehow seems to be in a T-shirt. He seems to be fine. Now his opponents say he's of half European vintage, which is why he doesn't feel cold in India. But what's really going on? How does he pull this off?
I think, Rahul, it's got to do with, fitness. If you're walking 25 kilometers for 108 days, you develop a kind of, temperament where this kind of, weather would not affect. I think Mr. Salman Khurshid has gone just overboard with comparison. He should have drawn country's attention towards, the second round table conference when Mahatma Gandhi was there and his dress had also come under question in England, and he had made certain observations that would have, generated far more interest. I think Rahul Gandhi, broadly speaking, Rahul, he has, he started playing, as per his political instincts. I think as Congress Vice President, as General Secretary, and as the ICC Chief, he was, tutored a lot, and that was not his temperament. So he could not reform the Congress party as per his whims and fancies. He was always at the loggerhead with the forces of status quo within the Congress. I think now, the walk the talk, it suits his temperament. Regardless of the weight of Congress, president or any office is not on him, and he's able to raise many national issues of national importance. The only point, Rahul, is that whether he will be able to bridge that gap. Remember, Congress has been getting 17 to 20% of vote, whereas his personal ratings were always less than 10%. Look at, Narendra Modi, his party gets 31%, 38% votes, but his popular ratings are always over 50%. So I think if Rahul can get his, popular ratings to over 20% or so, I think the purpose of this Bharat Jodo Yatra would be achieved.
No, but because one of the things about branding, Harish Bijur, is consistency. Sudhindra Kulkarni said it's not really like marketing and branding in the commercial world. I don't fully agree, because ultimately every neta is a political brand. Let's see where he's going with that beard of his, for example, because ultimately a neta should stand for certain things, should look a certain way, that message goes across every single day, then people know what to expect. Now that length of that beard, where is it going? What's the message that it is sending? Is it doing him any good in your view?
Well, I do believe the entire thing is cultivated, and I think it's doing him good. Because, if you really look at the history of yatras in this country, every yatra has been a success. Whether it be Lal Krishna Advaniji's Rath Yatra, whether it be Jagan's Yatra in Andhra, they've always resulted in some degree of success. The idea is what after the yatra, what next? And that's where most people flop and most people don't perform. But one key item I want to mention before I log off is simply this. At the end of the day, a yatra is only as good as the issue ground level, at the grassroots level, is the issue real? Because I was in Rajkot the other day, just discount the state I was in, and a taxi driver told me, साहब अगर भारत टूटा ही नहीं तो भारत जोड़ो का क्वेश्चन कहां पर आता है? And he used question. Now the point is,
I think you've gone on mute.
Is Bharat in a tuto phase? If Bharat is not in a tuto phase, this will not work. But if Bharat is in a tuto phase, it will work for Rahul Gandhi. Represent real issues and you win. Represent false issues and you lose.
Now, GVL Narasimha Rao, here's the thing, and many BJP leaders at the highest levels have also mentioned this to me, that no political yatra in India has ever gone unrewarded. That's just been the reality of yatras from time immemorial. That every yatra, whoever is the tapasvi who kind of goes through the effort of a big yatra, whether recently it was Jagan Reddy, in Andhra Pradesh, Lal Krishna Advani, during the time of the Ram Temple agitation, all yatras have found some political reward. Does that concern you?
Not in the least, Rahul, because the yatra has to have certain narrative that resonates with people. Rahul Gandhi is still continuing with the fake narrative, the same fake intolerance narrative that they have been trying to push for the last 8.5 years, very unsuccessfully. They may have succeeded in getting a couple of articles written in Western media, but nobody believes it. I think Harish ji just mentioned to you what a taxi driver asked him, because this entire narrative of intolerance, it is intolerance of Rahul Gandhi and Congress party to the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a democratically elected leader. The fake narrative, you see, if a yatra does not have immediate impact, will it have after 20 years? If a yatra, while yatra is happening, you are getting a resound beating. And if it is not having instant impact, do you expect him to have an impact after 5 years? That sounds rather silly.
Let Sudhindra Kulkarni respond to this. This concern that A, the yatra has no immediate political dividend, because where do you measure the political effect of the yatra? B, it comes down to voters and whether they think that India is indeed being divided or not, because the BJP would have us believe that there's a Tukde gang that's dividing India. Rahul Gandhi is saying it's the BJP and the RSS that's dividing India, but he needs to convince people across the country about his message. As of now, election after election shows people more convinced by Modi's message than they are by Rahul Gandhi's message.
Let us not look at this yatra from the point of view of whether it will yield immediate electoral dividends for the Congress party. It may not. The Congress party has to do a lot of introspection, lot of self-correction for it to bounce back. The people are not going to be in a hurry to bring Congress back to power. But that is not the purpose of the yatra at all. And when we say Bharat Jodo, it's not that Bharat is on the brink of being divided, being partitioned. That's not the reality at all. It's not physical division of India that is at stake. But the fact of the matter, and nobody can deny this, that hearts are divided, minds are divided, society is divided on communal lines, on other lines, and this is all being done for political purposes. And this is what needs to be stopped. Whether the BJP rules, Congress rules is unimportant. What is important is that India should remain united emotionally as a society with all its diversity, so that we can achieve great things that we are capable of. And that is what Rahul Gandhi is trying to do. After having spent some time in the yatra, I have seen how people are getting connected with this basic message. They may not vote for the Congress in the next election, but there is some deeper message that is going across. And if we don't understand this message, then we are making a big mistake. And I have a message for you, to all the people in the media. You see, just as there is Raj Dharma, there is also a media dharma. So do not black out something as important as the Bharat Jodo Yatra. You may not believe, but please cover it. Let people judge.
It's a bit rich that you're saying it. We're doing a 40-minute prime-time show where everybody's extolling the virtues of Rahul Gandhi, and you're saying we're blacking the yatra out. That's just factually incorrect.
No. You see, you are doing it now. But look at the expanse, the scale of the yatra, and the overall coverage in the mainstream media, and one has to come to the conclusion that it is not getting proper coverage.
Rahul, let me say something, because I think this is quite like unbelievable. The chutzpah. Nobody has covered Rahul Gandhi. I know that for a fact. Hardly any mention in the media. He's gone around and run circles around the media, and so now you're trying to discredit whatever. Just think. It is Mr. Narasimha Rao was talking about all this. Ask him to walk 20 kilometers a day. He won't. So this requires some belief in the self, in the country, in the party, in the people. And I think this is what has been demonstrated in the yatra.
Again, Rajiv Desai, a lot of what you're saying is divorced from facts. We've had Supriya Bhardwaj, Mausmi Singh, Preeti Chaudhary, Rajdeep, Nabila, Nagarjun, Akshita. It's like more than a dozen correspondents have covered the yatra throughout.
No. You never covered it.
You're talking over me. I am saying it does not behoove you to diminish this gargantuan effort.
Oh, I'm not. Okay, one second. We're having a very serious conversation on whether this can remake the Rahul Gandhi brand. Now, the fact that this is a diminished and damaged brand, you can't be in doubt about. The Rahul Gandhi brand is very badly damaged. If you can't accept that, then you're just starting from a point of delusion. The question is, does this yatra help salvage that brand? Rajiv Desai, that's the reality. Let's not be in denial over here.
This is the diagnosis that he set out with. The diagnosis is that under this government and regime, India stands divided every which way. And it's his attempt to join everything together.
But he doesn't need to convince you, Rajiv Desai. He needs to convince the voters of India. And in the 2024 elections, we will know. Now, because here's the point. Here's the most important thing. Whether it is a Sudhindra Kulkarni or a Rajiv Desai, they're all saying don't judge it by electoral success. Even if people don't vote, the yatra is very successful. Now, once again, Rajiv Desai, you're speaking over me. I've given you a fair opportunity, but you can't keep on going and speaking over me. That's not the right thing to do. Now, here is the thing. If there is a World Cup taking place, Rashid Kidwai, and we say, okay, Mbappe is practicing really hard, but he won't be playing this World Cup. He's practicing for something bigger and deeper. But there is a World Cup taking place, and if he's your star batsman, and if he can't score goals in the World Cup, what in the world is he preparing for? So what is this deeper message that Rahul Gandhi is sending across, which the Congress doesn't want be validated in an actual election?
Absolutely. I think Rahul, there are a lot of misgivings about it. There is an entire NGO circuit is there around Rahul Gandhi, which is projecting Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra is something very abstract and notional, etc. Well, Rahul Gandhi has figured out very clearly, to my mind, he's very clear-headed. He knows that people are least bothered that who's the Congress president and who's not. People in India, voters in 2024 or beyond will look for an alternative, and he's projecting himself in a very subtle way. He's projecting himself as that alternative. Whether the numbers, are comfortable. Remember, Rahul, that Rahul Gandhi would not be a contender unless the Congress crosses 125 Lok Sabha seats, which at this point of time looks a very difficult target. So therefore he's keeping himself in public mind, heart, etc. And of course he and his team keeps blaming the media, so that media is under pressure to give some kind of coverage. The media cannot be giving a kind of coverage that Rahul Gandhi or Jairam Ramesh expect. But this is all part of that game that we know. The fact of the matter is Rahul Gandhi has done fairly well in this throughout this Bharat Jodo Yatra, and ultimately it will depend whether the vote share goes away. See, unless Congress gets about 25% of votes, it will not be a contender in 2024. It's very simple arithmetic. You cannot be winning general elections with 17%, 18% votes, and Rahul Gandhi knows. So therefore, he is projecting himself in a much larger canvas. and much to the worry of...
No, but GVL, would you accept at least this much, that earlier Rahul Gandhi seemed disconnected from the common people of India? In some of these images which are on the screen, the manner in which he's connected, he's kind of been able to show he does have, to some extent, a bond, or he's trying to form a bond with the real Aam Aadmi of India.
Rahul, I have not run down his effort even in my previous comments. But the point is, it is not just a physical connect. What he's doing is certainly a physical meeting of the people. But where is the meeting of minds? Where is the political agenda? You cannot convince people based on hollowness and fake propaganda. Rahul Gandhi is continuing with his fake propaganda as part of his so-called Bharat Jodo Yatra. So this physical effort would have succeeded had he reinvented himself, had his party reinvented its image. What have you seen Rahul Gandhi talking about soldiers a week ago? Can you say that this Padayatra has taught him any lessons? He was saying our army soldiers are being beaten. Unko Chinese Sena beat rahi hai. PLA is beating them. Would anyone having right political sense, would he make such a derogatory comment about your soldiers when what they are showing is nothing but
Okay,
valor?
Anika Mehrotra, respond to that important point. Denigrating the armed forces, mocking the soldiers, which is not a politically smart thing to do. I mean, in any case, it's not a nice thing to do. It's not a smart thing to do. And that's something that the BJP will use to make the point that Rahul Gandhi still remains politically naive. He's making a lot of physical effort, but he simply doesn't have the mental or emotional connect with the people of India.
All right, let me answer you. See, in the Nagpur election, Congress swept the polls and BJP didn't win a seat, let me tell you that. In the by-election also, the same status, BJP lost and Congress won. That was one angle where you said electoral benefit. Let's not count that. We are not interested in that. We are more interested in, uniting the country, A. B, look at how they are rattled. And that is precisely our point. A thing which has gone for the country, now BJP is on a back foot. Earlier, they used to come up with all. Imagine Rahul Gandhi had said, if you remember, he said thousands of crores have been spent on, defaming his image. But he never replied back. He said, the truth will always remain vital. It will never, you can never, falsehood cannot stay for long. Right? Now coming to the point of what he said for the tweet for the soldiers. See, the Indian army have always been hailed. We cannot even ever think of defaming it. Point here is that they say, na ek inch aaya, na ek inch gaya, na koi aaya, na koi gaya. When they comment such thing, we ask, then why were the soldiers, brutally killed or what have, shahadat kyun hai in soldiers ki? That was the point. You say nothing happened, there was no fighting, nothing, then despite that the soldiers have been killed? So that was the question, that if nothing is happening, there's no, rift between the Chinese army and the Indian soldiers, then how come the soldiers have been martyred there? That was the question. So it was a pun. It was an attack on them.
No, but Rajiv Desai, see for a fact that he's taken an 8-day New Year break. Now, there's nothing wrong with the break per se, but if he'd actually turned a new leaf, maybe he should have worked through the new year to send that message that, like the Prime Minister, like others in the RSS, I'm now a 24/7 politician. He's actually looking to send the opposite message, and a lot of people may like breaks themselves, but would like their neta to be plugged in 365.
Oh. What about the people who are walking? Come on. Will they not?
How do you know that? Rahul Kanwal, by raising these completely irrelevant issues, you're trying to diminish what he is doing. And what he is doing is he said that there has been an amazing amount of hatred spread throughout the country in these past 8 or 9 years. And we need to fix that first before we fix any government or any politics or any economics or any society stuff. We need to fix that hatred. And he's targeted that. So what is the problem? I think this is a fantastic thing he's doing. He's not concerned about electoral outcomes. He says he criticizes the economics and the politics. I do too, everybody does. But basically, it's not about any outcome as such. The outcome is to point to the hatred.
No, you've been a marketing man, Rajiv Desai. Any campaign must have some outcome, and that outcome must be tangible, it must be measurable. Otherwise, as an ad agency, you can say, oh, I did the best campaign in the world, and as a client, I'll say, but how the hell do I know that your campaign even worked?
To the yatra. You're raising this because there's no answer in your mind to this yatra. And don't tell me about running campaigns, because I've done enough of that. Not political only, but even corporate and even everything else.
No, but
So,
Harish Bijur, here's the fact.
seriously,
With any marketing spend, with any marketing effort, you look at what will be the KPIs, the key performance indicators, which will determine whether or not the marketing spend was worth it. Let Harish Bijur speak. How do you determine that this yatra served its purpose? Rajiv Desai is convinced it did, but he was convinced about Rahul Gandhi's bona fides even before he began this yatra. How do you know you've been able to turn the mind of voters?
No, I do agree. And one of the points that I've made is that yatras work, and yatras have worked in the past. I don't see why this yatra must not work. If at all it does, it at least mitigates the issue of the image of Rahul Gandhi, which has been there in people's minds, but promoted by n numbers of other people who have vested interests. So I think the first thing it does is it reduces that image, that negative image which people have had in the past with terminologies such as Pappu, etc. I don't think in the future people can call, Rahul Gandhi a Pappu at all. But please note the second point. I think the second point is that we marketing people actually learn from political personas how to manage brands. Believe it or not, we actually do. It's not the right reverse all the way. And I think there's plenty of learning from every yatra. I have personally learned a lot from Lal Krishna Advaniji's yatra, and I've also learned from every other yatra. I've counted 7 of them. Each one of these are case studies of successes. So typically speaking, I think if the issue is right, this becomes the first bastion of correcting the image of Rahul Gandhi, erasing the negativity. But then erasing the negativity is not the only thing. You need to go further and further and further. And what else comes in the brand marketing kit, in the political marketing kit of Rahul Gandhi will count. And that will be important.
No, but even if it's able to erase the negativity, that by itself, given the depth of the negativity, is a good start. Make no mistake about it. Let's just say the jury is still out. Rahul Gandhi hasn't done badly. This 108 days since the start of the yatra, it's a phenomenal physical effort. He's connected with people. You have to give him credit for that. But whether or not it leads to some political outcome, because no matter how good you are in net practice, as a key player in a big team, you need to go out and score runs when it matters. Otherwise, you're just a tiger in the nets. It doesn't count for very much. That is the harsh and brutal reality. You don't need to convince Rajiv Desai. You need to convince those who don't vote for you that you've now turned a new leaf. And that is something we will find something about when the results in Karnataka come up. Then there's Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh. There will be enough time to see whether there is indeed, in the eyes of the Indian people, not in the eyes of the pundits on the show, but in the eyes of the Indian people, whether there is a new Rahul Gandhi. For the time being, Sudhindra Kulkarni, Harish Bijur, Rashid Kidwai, Rajiv Desai, Anika Mehrotra and GVL Narasimha Rao, thank you very much for joining me on the News Track. Thank you.